Emma.
Yes, Madelyn.
What would you call it if Donald Duck and Goofy went on a journey with the Duchess of Cambridge?
Gosh, I don't know.
Disney's Kate Adventure. To another episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm your host, Madelyn.
I'm your other host, Emma.
Emma does not seem impressed with the joke. What else is new?
It's a very rare time that I'm impressed with the joke.
I still remember there was like one time where you genuinely laughed at it.
I don't remember what it was.
Me either, but it's pretty much all been downhill from there. See, you're laughing. You just can't let yourself laugh at the joke. Then you'd have to admit
I'm laughing in
I'm
the
clever.
face of despair.
Disney's Kate Adventure. It's pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. It's funny.
It's pretty funny.
It's pretty funny stuff.
So if you haven't picked up from my fantastic joke, this week our old game is... And we've been referring to it wrong this whole time, Emma, because I did the actual research on it this week instead of just relying on my experience. It's a Berenstain Bears kind of situation.
It's not Disney Skate Adventure?
Disney Extreme Skate Adventure.
Oh, whatever.
So you're right. The joke doesn't work because I didn't include extreme.
Yeah.
That's probably why she didn't think it was funny.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm a sucker for accuracy.
Yes, but the title of the game, despite the fact that for the last month in every episode we've referred to it as simply Disney Skate Adventure, is false advertising. Because it's Disney Extreme Skate Adventure.
We're sorry, folks. We've been misleading you this whole time.
You thought we were talking about people who, research the game. They're like, there's no such thing as Disney Skate Adventure. Like, this is a deep cut.
Yeah, what is this obscure game that they're referencing? Man.
Only in print in Japan. And our new game this week is like a little game. You probably haven't heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think anybody plays it.
Yeah, it's real obscure.
It's a real indie. It's PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, or as Emma likes to call it...
Pubga.
Oh, last time it was Pubga. Now it's turned a little bit...
No, everybody abbreviates it as PUBG, but when I read it in my head, I don't say all the letters. I just Pubga or Pubga.
See, I was researching for the show this week, and I don't think I would have read the articles that way had you not put it into my head, but I did. I was like, oh yeah, Pubga is considering branching into esports, and Pubga. It's like if Final Fantasy had a magic that allowed you to summon beer for your friends,
mm-hmm.
and you leveled it up all the way. Pubga.
There you go. Yeah.
That was a backup joke. I thought it was a little too obscure. I was like, no one knows the Final Fantasy magic leveling system well enough to get this.
I was gonna say that I'm surprised they're not in esports already. Although I guess it's not a game that lends itself to teams. So.
We'll talk about it. You're getting a little bit out of order. I don't know if you've listened to the podcast before.
No, I've never listened to it.
We actually like to start with the old game.
Oh, okay.
I apologize.
I apologize.
As our Flashback Friday expert, I can confirm that is how we have always done it.
Mm. I bet one time you're going to run into an episode where we accidentally did it the other way, and you're going to feel stupid.
Well, we did it the other way on purpose a few weeks ago for our 1-year anniversary episode, which if you haven't listened to, you should go download. It's a good one. It's a doozy.
It's a doozy.
Yeah, a doozy.
Whatever that means.
It's an awesome episode. It's extreme. It's an extreme episode of adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So, Emma, let's talk about Disney Extreme Skate Adventure.
I'm not going to say extreme.
I know. It doesn't quite flow.
Dessa.
Yeah, Desa.
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 Dessa!
So I hope this is a game that other people have played. This feels like a game that is maybe more of a deep cut than I realize that it is.
If you haven't played it, but you've played the Tony Hawk games, it's the same thing.
It literally runs on the same engine.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a Tony Hawk game, except that you're in Disney worlds, and you can play as Disney characters, although you can also play as your own character that you've created.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought it was a lot of different worlds you could go to, but it's just Tarzan and The Lion King and Toy Story.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised too. I thought there was more than that, but I guess we were mistaken. But I guess it exists, like, because at some point, just, like, the rights to the Tarzan characters were, like, complicated with Disney. So it, like, exists in the weird nexus, like, after they acquired Pixar, but before that got messed up. So it's got both those in there.
Yeah, it was released in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's right there before we see Tarzan disappear from everything. But they had probably just acquired Pixar.
Yeah. And hey, the Toy Story levels were the best levels, so...
I can remember the Toy Story levels very clearly. And I can remember a lot of the Lion... I remember the Elephant Graveyard.
Oh, Elephant Graveyard. I hated
Lion
that
King
level.
But I cannot for the life of me remember what the Tarzan ones look like. So I suppose Disney has wiped the rights from my memory also. I really think the problem is that I've seen the Tarzan worlds also in Kingdom Hearts, and so I can't distinguish.
Yeah, I mean,
the two.
I don't remember either. I'm sure it looked pretty jungly and stuff.
Apparently you can skate on Clayton's ship. No memory of what that would look like.
Yeah, I don't have any memory. I didn't know Clayton had a ship. Who knew?
There's your trivia for the day. But this game, what's really notable about this game is not like the skating stuff, because the skating is fun, right? Like, you'll look up the reviews. Pretty much the reviews universally say, like, if you're really into Tony Hawk, this is pretty easy, but it's a pretty fun kids game, and the skating is pretty fun. But really the fun part of it was getting to make your own character. Much in the same vein as the SSX Tricky games. Make a weird-looking character.
I don't think you could do it quite as weird in this, though.
Well, no, you couldn't be like the fat midget.
Yeah, I don't think it had different body types. It just had girl and boy.
Yeah. That's fair, but it was still fun. But the real joy...
We've always been suckers for character creation, I think. Just a fun thing to do.
It is a lot of fun.
As
it's
evidenced
more
by
fun.
the Miis we've made.
It's more fun. I've tried to introduce my favorite part of this game like 5 times. So is this what it feels like to be you?
No.
Okay. So the best part of this game, far and away, is the soundtrack.
See, I don't remember much of the soundtrack, honestly. And you can't sing it because we can't.
Can I speak lyrics?
Sure, you can speak lyrics.
Where's your head at? Where's your head at? Did that make it come back?
No. But keep going.
That's pretty much how the song goes. Where's your head at? Where's your head at? Where's your head at?
It's almost out. Yeah,
also
there's this inkling in the back. It's almost there. Just keep saying it. It'll come back eventually.
No, I'm not gonna do it anymore. Do you remember the Lil Romeo song?
No, I don't remember. I don't remember the music. You can't sing
Romeo.
it.
Da-na.
You can't sing it. Stop singing it.
I'm not singing it. There's no words coming out of my mouth.
You can't don't do the song part either.
Oh, the something.
That does sound kind of familiar,
though. And you could not only skate in Disney World, but sort of you could also skate in this, like, I can't remember what it was called. I'm sure it had a ridiculous name.
Oh, yeah, some weird city.
Like some kind of city, and you could skate in the grocery store, and you could skate on the boat there, and there was like a skate park in the city.
And there's like side quests, weren't there?
Yeah, you could skate in the movie theaters.
they're like a whole campaign? Or was it just like, yeah, okay. I'd forgotten about that too. But now it comes back to me. I feel like some of those ones were like highly frustrating, is what I remember. But then again, I was like 7, so
yeah, I
most
would be
games were
interested to
highly
go back.
frustrating.
I would be interested to go back and play it because I also remember some of them being very, very, very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But they almost certainly could not have been.
Although I'm sure some of them must have been, because I can't imagine that we didn't get Dad to do some of them. And I feel like some of them were still frustrating then. Although, maybe that's just, I was frustrated that I couldn't do it.
I'll ask Dad when I see him yesterday, and maybe write a post on Facebook about it.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I've already done it.
Who knows?
Who knows? Time, it's strange.
Uh-huh.
It's extreme.
Weird thing.
Oh, you could customize your skateboard, too, I think.
Yeah, you could. For sure. But I just loved doing that. Or the one I least remember the most clearly, which I assume means I loved it, perhaps means I hated it, but it stuck in my mind somehow, was the Pizza Parlor. Pizza Parlor.
Planet.
Pizza Planet level from Toy Story.
Yeah, because you could grind all around the arcade machines.
Yeah. And there were the freaky little green men.
The army men? No, sorry.
The alien,
not the army men, the aliens.
Green, yeah. The other green men. Sorry.
Zerk's castle was pretty cool, too.
Is that racist?
To call them green?
All green men look the same to me.
Maybe a little.
Oops. Sorry. I apologize to any of our green listeners out there.
It's not easy being green.
It's not. It's true.
So this is a game that feels like it would be a collective hallucination. If somebody told me that Disney Extreme Skate Adventure was not a real game, I wouldn't be that surprised.
It's not that weird of a game.
That's exactly why. If it was, like for example, if somebody told me that Katamari Damacy, like, that I had hallucinated that, I would not believe that, because I don't have the imaginary capacity to come up with that game on my own. But Disney Skate Adventure is, like, just weird enough that, like, it shouldn't exist, but it's not weird enough that I couldn't come up with it with my limited imaginatory powers.
I don't even think it's weird enough that it shouldn't exist. I feel like, I don't know, Tony Hawk used to be very popular, I feel like, him and his games. And, Disney will just do whatever with its characters in the video game world. Anybody can approach them and be like, can I have your characters to do this? And they'll be like, whatever, yeah, sure, why not? That seems to be
true,
Disney's approach to partnerships, in the video game realm at least. So
at least in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Early 2000s, they're like, anyone who's like, I've got an idea for a Disney character, they're like, that seems fine.
I feel like the Disney of now really, like, it was like in its adolescent rebellious phase or something, and now it, like, really looks back on that and regrets a lot of decisions it made.
Almost certainly.
That's why it's not very active in the video game realm, is because they can't show their face there.
Mom, I might see someone from high school.
Yeah. They're like, we tried with Disney Infinity, but it was too embarrassing. I couldn't do it.
No, but it's like the cover art is kind of tacky. Like, the kids are kind of weird looking. Like, it just... Apparently they did a casting call for real life kids to be, like, the models.
Oh, wow, we missed out.
Like the game models. Yeah, right? That could have been us.
That could have been us.
We could have been in the game.
We looked like little skater girls, probably. I don't know.
She was a skater girl. She said,
put me in this game.
Yeah. Disney was like, okay. No, it's not Disney. The company that made it is called, like, Toys for Bob. Which I think
Toys for Bob.
Weird name to decide. It's Activision, but it's also Toys for Bob. I just think it's an odd name to decide to give your company. Like, who signed off on that?
Somebody whose son was named Bob.
I mean, almost certainly yes. But why?
I don't know. Why not?
If you were going to request a world for a reboot of Disney Extreme Skate Adventure, what would it be and why?
I mean, Disney is like, the monopoly of the movie industry now. So I feel like you'd have to bring, like, the Marvel characters in there. Come on. Captain America skating on his shield? Who doesn't want that?
I feel like Marvel Skate Adventure could be its own game, though.
I guess that's true, yeah.
Mesa. Like a Tony Hawk Marvel Ultimate Alliance combo. So we'll put that in its own spin-off.
Sure. So traditional movies, traditional Disney movies.
You can include
It took
Pixar
me a
if
minute.
you want.
It's hard to think through the movies. Like, I know the movies I like Mulan. I like Mulan, but I don't know if it would have a lot of good sites to skate on.
Yeah, you'd have to, like, skate around the family temple.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, like, a really skateboard-friendly world.
Oh, ancient China. They weren't big on the skateboards.
They didn't love to shred.
Oh, gosh, I don't know. Maybe Beauty and the Beast?
But then you're skating on sentient things. Like, your skateboard is probably alive.
No, well, that's true. I meant more like you could have, like, chip skating, and that would be cool.
That would be cool. I'd be here for that. You'd have to be able to skate as Gaston. I feel like that would be fun. No one skates like Gaston. Does figure eights like Gaston.
Wow.
Yeah, that's all I got.
See, that's what the Beauty and the Beast remake should have been. It should have been a Skater Girl remake where Gaston is just like a skater kid who's really full of himself and his tricks.
He's not even that good. Yeah, and then Beast is
I
not
can do an
literally a
ollie,
beast.
Belle. Watch me do an ollie.
Beast is not literally a beast. He's just like a beast. I will say games like this give me an unrealistic expectation for skating.
I don't think I've ever been on a skateboard, so.
No. I haven't. I definitely, I am not saying that I would ever skate. I wouldn't. I fell on my face and hit my head like a week ago.
Just walking.
I was running.
Okay.
To be fair. So I would never get on a skateboard.
But, I mean, I have no comprehension of actually, like, how hard it would be just to, like, push the skateboard and make it go right, because I've never actually been on a skateboard.
Yeah. Longboarding was very in Miami, and I was always a little bit like, how do all these people learn how to do this? Don't they wipe out? I don't see them wipe out very often.
Yeah.
Surely it has to happen, though, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, when I see, like, kids, like, doing, like, their little skate tricks, and they, like, do an ollie, right? I'm like, whatever, like, that's 50 points. Big deal.
That's true.
Yeah. So it's always a little disappointing when they're not just, like, grinding all over the place and, like, doing their, like, tricks holding themselves up, you know?
I'd honestly be pretty terrified if I ran into a bunch of kids who could do all that. I would think, like, I have wandered into the den of, like, a group of child assassins or something, so... that would be my first impression.
Emma, don't give away our spin-off game yet.
Oh, oops. Oh, yeah, that would work. I mean, what? Nothing. Come back at minute 40 or so.
Ish.
Yeah.
You didn't really answer, though. What's your world you'd like to see added in a downloadable content for a 15-year-old game?
There's too many Disney worlds. I can't remember all of them.
Remember one.
I don't know. Throw some out there. I can't think of any.
Snow White.
No.
Cinderella. Little
No.
Mermaid.
That would
Aladdin.
be interesting, but no. You could do Aladdin, probably.
You could do snowboarding in Mulan.
You could do
Feels like a snowboard.
sandboarding in Aladdin. No, Aladdin could maybe work. I mean, you'd at least have, like, a Cave of Wonders level.
Would you be able to skate as Genie?
Is that even a question? Yes.
Good. What other...
What else is he gonna do with his feet?
Yeah, I don't know. Skate. That's probably the only reason he wanted him in the first place.
Yeah, he just really wanted to realize his dream of becoming the next Tony Hawk.
Free to grind. Whatever happened to Tony Hawk? What is Tony
I think
Hawk
he still
doing now?
exists, I'm pretty sure.
But, like, when did he retire? When did Tony Hawk stop being, like, Tony Hawk?
I don't know. There's always, like, that one weird sport personality that, like, you don't know anybody else from the sport, but they've somehow managed to make themselves famous.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask, is where did Tony Hawk come from?
I don't know. He had
Why
a
did
really
he get
good
to have his own game
publicist,
series?
probably.
Who was like, what do you think his parents think of Tony Hawk?
They're probably living in a mansion rolling in dough, so I think they probably like him a lot.
Right, but how do they feel saying, my son rides a board for a living?
Rides a board. I don't think that's quite what they do. I don't think it's automated, not just riding on it, and whoever stays on the longest wins. No, it's not just like, I mean, he doesn't just skate. My son is a famous personality. It's really became that way by riding a board. Well,
the 2016 edition would be Disney Extreme Hoverboard Adventure.
No. Can you even do tricks on hoverboards? They don't go very fast, do they? I mean, I'm sure you can alter them to make them go faster, but...
I don't know if you heard me. I said extreme hoverboard. It's not this, like, boring... It's not just Disney Hoverboard Adventure.
Oh, okay,
that would just
sorry.
be, like, trying not to catch on fire when your thing spontaneously combusts.
That's pretty much already extreme hoverboard adventure. No, we were injuring ourselves on pogo sticks and bikes and razor scooters, not skateboards when we were kids, so...
I don't think I ever really injured myself. You did.
I'm sure you injured yourself at least once.
Not in any major or even minor way.
I'm sure you got a bruise from biking once.
Fair enough.
Even just on your butt. From the seat.
You know, if I was Tony Hawk's mom, you know how I'd explain to people what he did?
What? What would you say?
I'd be like, you know that game, Disney Extreme Skate Adventure?
That was based off my son.
It's like that, but an adult in the real world, and he's not as good as these 10-year-olds.
No, the nice thing for his parents is they don't have to say anything anymore. They just have to say, my son is Tony Hawk. Hello, my name is Jillian Hawk. I don't know. I don't know what his parents' names are.
Is his last name Hawk?
I don't know that either.
Oh, we're gonna find out. Oh, man. I have to close my PubGun notes. Tony Hawk. Yeah, this is riveting. Tony Hawk? Wow, these photos of Tony Hawk are worth looking at.
What?
Did you know his nickname is the Birdman?
Seems right.
No, I think it's his real name.
That's not that surprising.
Anthony Frank Hawk.
Hawk isn't that absurd of a last name. He just happened to get a very catchy name from his lovely parents, whatever their names are.
Nancy and Frank Peter Rupert Hawk.
Frank Peter Rupert? It lists all those names? Interesting.
Wikipedia.
Okay. Wikipedia knows too much. He probably edited that. Frank Paul Rupert. Put all his names.
Oh my god. Did you know Tony Hawk has an IQ of 144?
He's gotta think fast to do all them tricks.
Think of all the good things he could have done for the world if he wasn't focused on scoring some sick moves.
Think about your own happiness. And Tony Hawk's own happiness. As a person who rides a board.
Disney Extreme Skate Adventure brought me a lot of happiness, so I guess Tony Hawk did okay.
Exactly. You know what will not bring you happiness?
Oh, I had a different transition.
Oh, you do it.
Speaking of games named after famous people.
What?
I was thinking like Tony Hawk's and like Player Unknowns. Like I thought there was a parallel there.
Oh. But after they're not famous because they're unknown.
Yeah, his name is public knowledge though.
Is that a person's name? That's not a person's name.
Well, his name is not Player Unknown, but he has a real name. It's his real gaming handle.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, speaking of great transitions, Player Unknown's Battlegrounds, also known as PUBG or PUBG or whatever it is.
Yep.
Want me to take the summary on this one?
Sure.
Yeah, I did my research this week, folks, so buckle up, because you're in an airplane with 100 other random players flying to a randomized island where you will be dropped, Hunger Games style, to fight to the death.
Actually, I think you can choose where you drop yourself.
Yeah, there's sort of 3 parts to this game. So you get dropped onto this random island, and deciding when to drop out of the plane, which has a different flight path every time, is part of the game. Because you have to decide if you want to like parachute into the thick of it, or if you want to hide in the woods, or what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And then, so this is a massive online multiplayer game. Mm-hmm. It's not an RPG, so it's not a Memorpig. I don't know if that's Memorpig. Speaking of other things that I pronounce. Speaking of other things I pronounce strangely when I read them on the internet. But it's an online, the tag says, it's not a game, it's a battle royale.
Well, I mean, that's what it's quote unquote based off battle royale, the story.
Yes, so you parachute onto this island with like 99 other people. You can have a team of 4 players who work together.
Oh, okay.
So there is some teamwork based stuff potentially, but you don't have to. And
do you have to kill each other in the end though? Like Hunger Games?
I don't actually know. I don't know if the team has to turn on each other in the end or not. But you basically spend most of the game sort of scavenging this island for loot and weapons and stuff. But eventually, it is last person standing. And to make things more complicated, there's sort of this like blue circle of safety. This is how they prevent the games from going on for like huge amounts of time. Mm-hmm. You take damage if you're on the outside of the circle, which eventually forces everyone into a smaller and smaller area, hence more bloodshed. Games that only on average last about 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'm surprised they last that long. I mean, I guess I'm not really aware of how long the phases go on, but it seems like it's very fast-paced. And I guess it's 30 minutes for the people who actually win in the end. Not for
right. It's not 30 minutes for you or me.
Who die frequently.
Well, this game does get a lot of good press for being very accessible, right? It's supposed to be a kind of online battle game that you're not going to have to sink tons and tons and tons of time into figuring out how to play and getting good at, or like, because you don't get to keep any of your gear, right?
Yeah.
You get to get gear that's, makes you look cool, but you don't get to keep anything that's going to boost your stats or anything that's going to have any real effect on your gameplay, which I think is cool, because, you can just jump right in.
I mean, to a certain extent, because it's not like there's really, like, a tutorial. It's like you have to have a basic knowledge of how a third-person shooter mechanic works from the get-go.
Did you know you can choose to play first person or third person? You can switch.
Is that recent? Or does they have it from the beginning? Well, either way, I think either, like, if you know one, you sort of know the other. But you have to know how to do that.
That's true. I'm not saying it's like you're going to jump in and you're going to be a master right away if you've never played any of these kind of games, but I think it's nice that you're not just slaughter bait for level 100 people.
That's true.
You're playing against who are just going to stomp all over you.
Yeah.
Reading about this game made me want to play it. It sounds fun.
Yeah, it does sound fun. I mean, I don't have a computer that can run it, probably, especially considering that it's already kind of a glitchy game. Because it only recently, and we can talk a little bit about this, actually, but I think, is it still in beta? Or did it?
No, I believe it's in full release.
Okay.
I mean, they've definitely released it to the Xbox now, which would make me think that it's no longer in beta.
Yeah, but there was some controversy in end of the year Game of the Year lists because I don't think it fully released until 2018. So a lot of people are asking, well, does this count for this year or would it count for next year? And people came to different conclusions, which I personally didn't care. I think I'll be a little annoyed if someone who put it on the list this year then puts it on the list the next year for like a new game. But other than that, who really cares?
I don't know. I think it's hard to say. Like, this game has had at some times, and I think this must have been in 2017 because we're not that far into 2018. It's had 3 million people playing concurrently.
Yeah. So that's why there was debate in the first place, because even though it was unfinished and glitchy and kind of awful to look at, it had such a broad cultural impact and cultural, what's it called when you like grab onto something? Stickiness.
Grasp?
I don't know. So it felt like it needed to be on this year because it had such an impact on gaming this year.
I just think you can hardly call it a beta anymore if you have 1 million people playing it.
I mean, it's a beta because it's not because you have a certain amount of people playing it, it's because not everything is finished.
Sure, but isn't the whole point, isn't beta testing, isn't the whole point of it that you release it to a small group to work out the kinks? I don't really feel like
I guess they didn't take that route, but I mean, there were a lot of kinks while it was still in beta, even when it had that many players. It just, the concept was good enough that people still wanted to play it. Plus, I don't know, loot box fatigue probably drove them there also.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk a little bit about that? That's something I've read a little bit on, and I think it's an interesting controversy.
I'm not 100% confident on it because it hasn't really impacted me. But, I mean, there's just controversy over the idea of loot boxes that enhance your performance in a game in such a way that someone who doesn't get loot boxes could never catch up with you.
Yeah, it's a pay-to-play kind of game.
Yeah.
And it's something that it gets into running afoul of some states' gambling laws.
Yeah.
Is something that's a concern with loot boxes. So for those who aren't in the loop about this, so a lot of online multiplayer games, obviously, as most games do now, have, options where you could exchange your real-world currency for in-game currency. That's something we're all very familiar with now as a concept. It's something that bombards us in any mobile game that we play for free, and it's only worse in these online multiplayer games where sometimes the most recent, is it Star Wars? Star Wars Battlefront?
Star Wars Battlefront. As EA continues to ruin everything it touches.
Right. So that game was really, really saddled with a huge amount of backlash. When they had these loot boxes, you needed to unlock some characters because it would take you hundreds of hours to grind that much currency otherwise. Mm-hmm. And there was actually a minor little bit of controversy about loot boxes. Oh, and also, sorry, to go back to this. So the problem is, of course, these loot boxes give you stuff at random, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like a game where it's like, oh, you can purchase Luke Skywalker for 20,000 Jedi gold pieces.
Yeah.
Not that that's what they're using, but whatever. It's like you can purchase this box, which might have Luke Skywalker, for 20,000 Jedi gold pieces, which is when you get into the gambling potential issue. And like I was about to say before I interrupted myself, there was a little bit of controversy with this game about loot boxes until they reassured everyone that it would only ever be cosmetic stuff, that they were never going to offer anything performance enhancing in loot boxes. I don't know. It's an interesting controversy. Of course, the companies want to make money. But it seems like there are better ways to do it.
Extra Credits actually just released, or not just released, but I think last week released it. Extra Credits is a gaming YouTube site, does a lot of interesting videos. And they were talking about how, because of inflation, honestly, $60 games should be priced more at $80 or $90 for them to really, like, always successfully be making a profit off the game. And because they can't do that, because anything over 60 gets the consumer, like, not wanting to buy it because it suddenly seems like a lot of money, they're trying to find other ways to make up that difference, one of which is DLC, one of which is loot boxes, and other stuff like that. And obviously those things have been more and less successful depending on the game and depending on the company. But the important part of, like, there's, like, growing pains, obviously, but now all developers know, like, well, clearly what EA is doing is not the way to go. So hopefully, because they want to make money, they will not be going off of that. So it's important when, like, things like that happen, and as the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, like, responded saying, like, no, just cosmetic, we promise. Like, making sure that players are always giving their feedback to people, saying, like, I'm worried about this, or I don't like the way this works, helps other developers and that developer fix it so that they can still make money because they need to, but also aren't, like, ruining their game in the sake of making money.
Well, I think the worst part of what happened with the Star Wars game is, and correct me if I'm wrong about this or if you know that I'm wrong, but I think people complained about the loot boxes, and then EA was like, okay, we hear you, we're fixing it. And they lowered the price of the loot boxes, but they also, like, changed the dynamics of the game so that you, like, also make less money. So they didn't really, like, they lowered the prices of them, but they didn't really change the time calculus.
I'm not sure, but that sounds like something EA would do, so I believe it.
But I want to circle back to what you said about, like, games really should be priced at $80 or $90. So I think it's interesting about, like, how do we set, I mean, I know we decide as a culture, but I think it's interesting how we set, like, sort of a standard value we're willing to pay for certain amounts of entertainment.
Well, on that video, they were saying that the $60 price point was kind of established around 2005. And they'd, prior to then, which was around, like, the PS3, Xbox 360 generation, right? So games that were more technologically advanced, which meant more work was put into them, which meant more money was put into them, which meant they had to be priced more money. And before that, they were cheaper than that. But yeah, I don't know, because I have, like when I look at a AAA game and if it's above $60, I have that sort of, like, cringe reaction of, like, oh wow, that's a lot of money. And when I look at indie games that are above, like, $20, I'll look at them and go, oh man, that's a lot of money. Or if I look at mobile games that cost anything, I'll go, oh man, that's a lot of money. Which, like, how does that make sense? I'd never really, like, I'd thought about that, but I never really thought about that, you know? Because, like, why am I willing to pay these prices for certain games, but I'm not willing to pay any more than that without, like, really feeling confident about it.
Right, like, it's the same thing with, like, people get so outraged whenever Netflix raises their price by, like, a couple dollars a month.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, really? I'm sure if you went through and you calculated how many hours you spent a month watching Netflix, you're probably paying, like, 50 cents an hour. Maybe less.
I mean, like, the way you have to think about, like, the Netflix is, like, well, you can either, what's gonna make you madder, paying a couple more dollars a month, or us putting ads in, you know? Like, I think Hulu is cheaper, but they're, like, it's more expensive if you don't have the ads.
I just think if you go through and you do sort of, like, value per dollar, right, of common entertainments, I think that video games probably come out at a very low, like, almost, like, one of the lowest ratios. They might not be able to beat streaming TV services, but, like, I don't think movies, I don't think cable television, I don't think that, well, unless you watch cable television like I do, in that you, like, put it on in the background for hours and do work.
Yeah.
Not that I have cable here, because I see the price and I go, ooh. Also. But, like, I'm sure cable television doesn't get as low as video games unless you're me. I know that theater doesn't unless you're seeing really indie theater.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just interesting, the sort of, like, dollars per hour we're willing to spend on something, and when it starts to get, like, too much.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, even with video games, like, there's so much variation between how much time you can put into it, but they're all priced the same. So, like, I'm playing, you know, like, one game that will take me 20 hours, and it's $60, and that's fine with me. And then I also play Persona 5, for example, which I spent like 80 hours on, and that's also $60. But I don't really make that distinction and be like, oh, this one should be more expensive because it's way more time was put into it, and they probably had to, you know, like, everything was longer and more expensive, probably.
But there's no other like, I can't think of another medium where we put a price on time like that, right? Like, I have no problem paying the same for a 90-minute movie as I do to see one that pushes 3 hours.
I mean, that's true, but there's less disparity there. You know, like the 2-hour difference versus like a 40-hour difference.
Percentage-wise, though.
I guess that's true. But we price books differently by how long they are.
I mean, you price it differently when it gets to extremes, right? Like, yeah, I would be pissed if I was going in to see a short film and they tried to charge me, you know, the $20 that I pay for a movie ticket on a Saturday night in New York, right? And I would be upset if I went in to see, like, a 10-minute play and they tried to charge me Broadway prices, right? I'm upset when any play tries to charge me Broadway prices, but that's not a discussion for this podcast. Or, like, I would be upset if I, like, not that I buy television shows on iTunes anymore. Does anyone do that anymore? I feel like that used to be a huge thing. Anyway, I would be upset if I bought, like, a 5-minute, like, short for the same price as a full episode, I guess. But when you're getting down to percentage-wise, generally the variation in video game length, I mean, I know you spent 80 hours on Persona 5, but that's not typical.
Well,
right?
I mean, more and more so as people keep doing open world stuff. You don't have to spend that much time with it, but you can.
Fair enough. But I would say, unless we're getting into, I feel like open world can almost sit in its own category of, there's no way to predict how much time people are going to spend on this.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, most games that have some kind of through-line story are what, like 30 hours? 40 hours?
Probably less than that.
Less than that, yeah. 20 to 30 hours. And there's more variation, percentage-wise, in movie length than, you know, that percent increase there. I don't know.
It's true.
What I'm getting at is it's interesting that we won't pay more for video games. Because it really seems like we should.
Yeah, but I mean, there's something about $70. It just seems scary. I don't know.
It's the same thing with the concert tickets I bought on Friday. When I was like, oh, $60. I was like, oh, the VIP tickets would be so cool, but like, ugh, $60.
Yeah.
Like, ugh. It's just interesting that it seems so arbitrary, right?
Yeah.
That we get used to a certain price, and just because we're used to it, we're not willing to pay more.
Yeah.
Strange how people work. Anyway, trivia time. Did you know this game was literally based on the Hunger Games, but he, like, changed some elements of it so he wouldn't be, like, copyright infringing? Like, I was reading about the game,
So
and I was like,
he's, like, made them adults? It's that...
Well, no, he was like, originally he had kind of like a cornucopia style thing.
Oh, I see.
And he was like, maybe I can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just like, Battle Royale, like, Hunger Games is not the first thing to do that style of game, I guess. You know?
Yeah,
It's
I know.
Just, there's the original Battle Royale book, which is probably where it sort of started.
I was reading the summary of the game
stuff out there.
I know, but I was reading the summary of the game and I literally wrote in my notes like, this sounds like Hunger Games. And then I kept reading and it was like, he was actually inspired by Hunger Games.
Uh-huh.
Which brings me to my first crossover idea, which is just called The Hunger Games.
Where they skateboard.
No, they're just children fighting each other.
No, it's not a good crossover.
Oh, also, you know what other game is basically a spin-off of Disney Skate Adventure?
What?
Kingdom Hearts 2.
I love the skateboard in Kingdom Hearts 2.
It's there for no reason. Anyway, I had to throw it in there because I was thinking that as I was watching it this week. Anyway.
They probably put that in. When did Kingdom Hearts 2 come out? 2005? 2006?
Yeah. Promoting a...
They had it. They're like, we've got the skateboarding technology now. Let's throw it in.
Anyway, spin-offs, mashups. What are your thoughts? You were talking about skateboarding assassins, which I kind of dig.
Yeah. It's a group of young skateboarding assassins. But there's a traitor among them. And so they end up all turning against each other, and you all have to survive through your epic skateboarding tricks combined with cool assassination techniques.
And I had a good idea, and then it went away. And there's a 6 soundtrack.
Yeah, of course. I don't accept games without a 6 soundtrack anymore. I reject them. My standards were so far raised from a lot of games this year that if the games don't have a 6 soundtrack, don't want anything to do with them.
I don't even want to come up with other ideas because I like this child assassin game so much.
Well, let's extend it then. Let's expand it.
Okay, so there's a traitor in their midst, right? And how do they, what are the weapons used in this game? Do we have to incorporate the Disney element at all, or are we just abandoning that?
I think that would be a little weird. If we went to Disney with that, they'd be like, I think that's just a smidgen too far for us.
And they'd be like, if you came to us with this in 2003...
we would have totally said yes.
We're mature now.
We own Star Wars and Marvel, including X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
We're all grown up. Yeah, so, but there's not, in keeping with the games that we have, there's not much of a story. Maybe, you're in a city, and maybe you can, enhance your weaponry by doing, side quests, and fulfilling tasks like that. But then you have to, go to, event spaces where you're all pitted against each other, and whoever is last standing is the winner.
This is excellent. I would play this game.
I think the skateboards are what really make it.
Especially because these skateboarding games, I feel like, have kind of gone out of vogue.
Yeah.
Ever since Tony Hawk kind of disappeared, flew off into the sunset, I feel like these skateboarding games have not been popular since the mid-aughts.
Mm-hmm.
And they're due for a resurgence, and a dark and gritty resurgence, because God knows it's 2018.
Yeah.
So, I like this. I think you could probably sell someone on this and it would work.
Yeah.
It's not too similar to any other games that are out there. I'm trying to think, are there any games where you're riding on stuff?
I mean, there's, probably there's games for everything, but I don't think it's similar enough to be a copyright type issue.
I don't even trust it when we come up with a good crossover anymore. I'm like, it can't be good. It can't be good.
Yeah, I'm enthusiastic about it. It's just the right amount of weird, especially coming out of a year with a bunch of weird games that came out. Yeah, really up the ante of weird, but also have cool physics stuff. People are into that. That's like half the fun people had with Breath of the Wild, I'm pretty sure. It's like cool physics stuff.
I'll confirm or deny as I continue to play.
Have you launched yourself on a rock yet?
No.
You use
There's a lot to
stasis,
learn.
and then you climb on it.
Okay. This is a lot of physics for me right now. At almost 10:30 at night.
No, it's 12 on Sunday.
No, it's not anymore.
We record these live.
It's like 12:30, 40 at this point now.
It's 12:48 on Sunday.
Probably not, though. It's probably a little earlier than that.
Time is a mysterious thing.
What?
Time is a mysterious thing. Yeah.
Like the way I asked Dad about Disney Extreme Skate Adventure yesterday.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So
anyway, you mentioned Breath of the Wild. And so, speaking of things that we've been playing, you should tune in next week to hear our side quest episode where we discuss just that for the past 2 weeks. We'll be talking about what we've been playing, what we've been thinking about games, what's up in our gaming lives.
Yep.
It's a good way to just hang out with the Talk This Sisters for 20 minutes or so and catch up with what's hip in gaming for like 20-something ladies.
Emma will be all prepared to rant about Persona 3 Portable by then, so look forward
Emma's still
to
processing
it, kiddos.
right now. Still buffering.
Yeah, I've just been listening to the ending credits song over and over again. Processing. It's okay, I'm fine.
There's also, if you can't get enough of Talk This, we got lots of material for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can subscribe to us or listen to our podcast on all sorts of, basically wherever podcasts are not sold but provided. On Apple Podcast, on Stitcher, on Google Play, on Spotify, there's definitely another one.
Tune
in. All over the place. And also on our website at www.talkthispodcast.com. While you're there, you can also check out our blog. There should be some new blog content that is either already posted or coming soon, including a new edition of Buzz This, our longest-running blog series, and the final installment of Clickbait Boyfriend, Kingdom Hearts 1. Let me tell you, folks, am I behind his gameplay right now?
Josh just sent me a message the other day saying, look, I caught up, even though he was a level and a minute behind. So, clearly lying, but...
Yes, of Emma's save data in a different game. Anyway. So there'll be those blog contents. Who knows, maybe I'll bully Emma into writing a blog about Persona. Anything could happen. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. On our Facebook, I really am going to get back to Read This week. Things have been kind of crazy and busy, and I haven't been on top of my Read This posting. But this week, there'll be more articles. There'll be our new series of hashtag Flashback Friday mini episodes. On our Instagram, you'll see all sorts of video game memes and fun images and stuff like that. And on Twitter, you'll see mostly stuff from other social media, but maybe we tweet stuff too sometimes. And also, we're on YouTube. You will be able to very soon check out the Flashback Friday episodes there. But right now, you can take a look at the first installment of Emma's, it's Play This, right?
Yeah.
Of Play This, which is Emma's YouTube series about game mechanics and how they influence the story and benefit the story.
It's a double meaning because you play the video and you should also play the game.
Look
Wink.
at that. It's like puns run in our blood. Did I miss anything? I feel like I did a nice little spiel.
Yeah, you did a good spiel. We just, I have an embarrassing thing to say in that I've had like 4 weeks off from this, and I have not put together hats for the games yet. So we're going to have to do the website thing.
All right. Madelyn, the random number generator. I'm ready. Let me know when you're ready with the website.
Okay. I am ready.
4
for old. Team Buddies.
Yes! Team Buddies! Oh man, we are hitting some good old games in a row. And also old games that no one but us has ever played.
Team Buddies, one of the lost greats of the world.
Seriously. And for new game, 9.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Splatoon 2.
Oh, that's
Perfect.
Convenient.
I've also been playing that.
Man, this is going to be a great episode, folks. And I'm not just saying that because it's my podcast. It's really going to be great.
Yeah.
So tune in 2 weeks for that, and tune in next week to hear what we've been playing. And Emma, do you wanna sign us off today?
Just have a great day.